Hey everybody, Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully everyone's doing well on this Tuesday evening here. If you saw my post earlier, got a little delayed here. I was kind of caught in a rough time between model transitions here. And usually when you have OOZ, HRRR, and the NAM 3 kilometer, which are convective models, which are really important to looking at severe weather. And usually a lot of the short-term weather forecasts here, it sometimes can take a long time to load. So apologies to anyone that was expecting a video around the 9:30 time frame. Just didn't pan out this time, but I wanted to make sure I gave you guys the most up-to-date information that I could. That being said, smash that like button and decimate that subscribe button as well. And also, if you're new, if you've been here a while, make sure you hit that share button as well. But this also will be important to share because of what we have going on here in the next couple days. I made a post on that as well. Before I get into that, I actually want to go ahead and cover something that I didn't get a chance to yesterday because of a family situation that came up, and that's actually the lake effect snow that we had ongoing over the last 48 hours here. And we have kind of touched on the potential of this over the last few days, but this definitely overperformed if you ask me. I didn't expect a lot of areas to see as much snow as they did. Like outside of Buffalo, we can see areas over here just off to the south that got about a foot of snow. Big winter really was over towards Lake Ontario, off to the east a little bit, where we see almost 2.5 feet even, and then over towards Michigan. I'm not surprised to see high totals here, up to about a foot of snow. We were kind of expecting that, because I mean everything was just kind of being pushed. The winds were kind of being pushed onto the lake here, so there's no real surprise there. The Weather Nerd 101 video will be coming up on that soon, but the inhibiting thing for that is actually looking at severe weather. Like I said, we had the post earlier where we talked about the slight risk here, and I'm actually kind of concerned about this day because I've been kind of sifting through the models on and off throughout the day, and then also kind of reading some of the wording on these synopsis. The potential for tornadoes with this setup is actually pretty high. I mean, I've been kind of marking this day on and off between the 30th and the 1st here, so I'm not entirely surprised to see that. This did look like it had a good kinematic setup for sure, but questions still somewhat remain with instability at the moment, but I do think we're starting to uptick on that just a little bit. We'll have to see what tomorrow brings, because this is right now, as it stands, a day 3 threat. So, but this is just off of the latest update here. This was at I think this was actually put up a little early. This could be off on time here, because like I said, a lot of this is coming in on on the spot here. But based off some of the model data that I've seen, and I'm pretty sure they haven't even included the latest data on this synopsis here. Notice the wording, including brief tornadoes, severe cells within any larger scale convective area. Then also a couple other things that are eye-catching here is also mixed layer cape of about 1,500 joules per kilogram. Said it before, about 1,000 joules per kilogram is what you're looking for right here, so not really a surprise there. A relatively early risk for a few severe storms, including a few tornadoes. Definitely is everything's kind of coming together for a increasing severe threat, with this potentially being late morning to mid-afternoon here. That does pose problems for the chance of me live streaming that. It's probably not going to happen because I'm going to be stuck at work. I'm just going to be honest. I always try to be upfront and honest with you guys about stuff. Like, for example, yesterday I had a feeling I wasn't going to be able to get on here, mainly due to the fact that a lot of family stuff was going on and some of it needed to get resolved, which it did, thankfully. So yeah, but that's besides the point. Probably not going to be live streaming this, but this is going to be this looks like it could be a notable event, and also wouldn't surprise me to even see an upgrade to an enhanced risk, and I'm going to show you just why. So here we are looking at some short range model data here. We're looking at the return of the RAP right here, the rapid refresh model here, which is the parent model to the HRRR, and then we also have the NAM 12 kilometer, which is parent to the NAM 3 kilometer, both of which I use pretty often when it comes to severe weather. But I want you to make note of what we're seeing on the wrap here, because this is a little bit of an older run. This is the only run that's within range here right now. So this is all I'm working with, what I got here still. But what I want you to take note of is this area that starts to develop here around Wednesday. We end up seeing this begin to really start to take shape earlier in the day. This is going to be around 17 to 18Z here. Start to see a little area of convergence and divergence begin to take shape here, right at the end of that run. So this will be the time frame where I would expect severe weather to start. It will be in the late morning, early in the afternoon, probably between, let's say, 18 to 19Z all the way to 22, maybe even 23Z at the latest. It's going to be more of an earlier in the day type event. I think we'll start to lose some of the instability and other ingredients as we go later into the day. The NAM goes out a little further so we can actually get a better look at this. If we look at NAM, this is what we end up seeing here. So this is getting into the early morning hours on Thursday here. And you can see this little hole right here. This is our area where we have that gap between our convergence and divergence area here. And this is the point of this will be the point of interest throughout the day. By the time we get towards 21, 22Z, that's moved out of here, and then by that point, that severe threat is going to be done. It's not going to be a long-lasting, it's not going to be a long-duration event by any stretch of the imagination. And then from that point on, we're looking pretty decent right now in regards to severe weather threats after that. But Thursday is the day we're going to be highlighting, of course, the most here. So for the most part, like I said, I think early morning type event. We'll see how all of this kind of translates to the mid levels of the atmosphere. This is us starting to look out into the HRRR now, and we'll start out with the 500 millibars. This is towards the mid levels of the atmosphere. We have decent range on this now because this is the most up-to-date HRRR. This just loaded in maybe about 10 minutes ago. But if we continue to keep this rolling here, if I can get it to go. I'm lagging a little bit. I don't know what's going on with the internet right now. There we go. Just taking her sweet time, but you can kind of see a similar look here, a little bit of congruency between the different levels of the atmosphere, albeit there is a little bit of a change here where we're seeing that little bit of a ski jump a little further off to the east than expected, than what I was seeing on the 21Z run of the wrap. The OOZ run of the wrap only goes to 21 hours, versus 51. So like I said, I'm kind of just working with what I got here. And and it looks like there's also a little bit of evidence of a shortwave here too. So you always have to watch that southeastern flank as well. Definitely seeing the look there as we continue to go through the HRRR run here. And then we'll get to see the same thing going here with the NAM as well. This will work. I don't know what's going on with the computer right now. Okay, it looks like we're starting to get back under control here. But we see a pretty similar deal. It looks like the timing might be slightly different with the NAM here. I think the trigger might be a little bit earlier in the day. There isn't as prevalent of a shortwave until a little bit later. The timing of that also is going to be key. But if things come together the way I think they might, the chance of a strong tornado couldn't be ruled out here. This is just from looking at the mid levels. We haven't really talked too much about the low level jet, which is really the thing I want to talk about the most, because low level jet looks insane. So here we are looking at Thursday again. This is at the mid levels for now, and you can see that things are really starting to ramp up around here. 700, you can definitely see those short waves become a little bit more apparent on here at this height. And when we get to 20Z, we can kind of begin to see a little something going here. It's a little bit further north than I would be expecting, but this is going to be our point of interest right up in here, maybe a little bit out ahead of it, I would say. But that's going to make for a very prime environment for severe weather, probably even some tornadoes. I think the hail threat actually will be a little bit lower, but the wind threat and the tornado threat definitely will be elevated because of this. And we can see the same thing kind of playing out here with the NAM as well. The NAM kind of picks up on it a little bit more aggressively from the looks of it here, but the timing is going to be a little bit off here from the looks of it. Not as much of a shortwave there, but just in general, just as far as the overall wind speed, definitely looks like it's slightly more impressive here. Like I said, timing is really going to be key with this setup. And then last but not least, this has been the big talking point amongst me and some of my fellow friends here on some of my fellow weather nerds and enthusiasts here on Discord, and that's been the low-level jet here. Low-level jet has been screaming with this. Also, feel free to join our Discord, by the way. We don't bite unless you've done something to offend people, unless you're a previous offender, of course. Anyway, look at just how strong this low-level jet is at 18Z. You don't really see this until later into the evening, so this is definitely something to kind of raise the alarm a little bit. Not saying that you should be scared amongst this region. In fact, tornadoes are not uncommon across Texas, so these guys know the deal. Usually these guys are more than ready for it, but it's interesting to see that we're dealing with a low-level jet of about 50 knots this early in the day. So that does leads to some cause for vigilance, I should say. Not necessarily some concern, but mostly vigilance at this point. But it's a quick mover too. This low-level jet's going to get moving and then pretty much start to exit out of that severe area by the time we get towards the latter half of the afternoon and into the evening. And we'll see a similar thing play out here on the NAM. The main thing that gives me increased confidence that maybe even an enhanced risk could be possible is a simple fact that everything is kind of popping up pretty nicely on the model data here. It makes it it's pretty pronounced too. It's kind of hard not to see it if you know how to read these even a little bit. Not saying that I'm a pro at this, but I have an idea of what's going on with this setup here for sure. Now the NAM, while it does show a similar look, it doesn't show it shows a slightly more aggressive look at some points here. Like you can actually see a pocket over here or two where we're at about 60 knots, which is really alarming, but that low doesn't look as impressive on here. It doesn't look as organized as what we're seeing with this. This kind of eventually broadens out, but it starts out earlier in that run being a little bit more put together by the time we're at 21Z. Like it's tightened up a little bit more, whereas this is just kind of trying to get its act together, trying to find its identity, so to speak. Eventually it does, and eventually the winter weather threat's going to kick back in as we head towards the latter half of the week. But nonetheless here, the threat still remains the same here for right now. Well, I mean, there's still fail parameters that are to be had with this, but definitely something that I'm going to be paying a lot closer attention to over the next 36 hours for sure. So another thing to make note of here is the moisture return. We're just going to put both of these somewhat at the point of interest right here. This is around 14Z. This is a little earlier into the morning here, just before what I would anticipate to be storm initiation here. So, but look how rich these dew points are. And we've been kind of peeping this on the runs here, even in the medium range here. So I was kind of always watching the 30th to the 1st, but like I said, the further out you look into model data, the less certainty you have. You can only take it with a grain of salt and just try to look for a trend here. But this has been pretty consistent, so it's not necessarily a surprise to see this. But what is surprising to see those 70-degree dew points at this time here. And there is some potential to where maybe along the Texas coast here, this could remain maybe a little bit later. The threat for maybe a couple of tornadoes here. And the thing is, like I said, both the NAM and the HRRR have been pretty congruent as far as this is concerned. The moisture return on NAM, however, is a little bit lighter, but still very much sufficient enough. Like I said, usually the minimum is about 60-degree dew points. We're getting into the mid to upper 60s here. So, like I said, looking pretty favorable for severe weather threat, particularly even a tornado threat. The kinematics look good, and the thermals are looking pretty good too. So go ahead and bump these both forward all the way up to about 20Z or 16Z. Actually, it's a little too far ahead. But one thing to make note of here is the air temperatures getting towards 70 already. If this was a springtime setup, this would be a real problem, because we probably get into those 70s, maybe those 80s here. And then, oh man, just thinking about it just kind of makes me shudder. But like I said, temperatures are more than suitable around this region here. It's between 16 and 17Z. Find it interesting that HRRR is slightly warmer here, but it's usually by about a degree or two at this point. So it's going towards 18Z on NAM. We're going to go all the way to about 19 to 20Z. We're getting all the way up to about 73 here. Storm initiation starts actually a little later on this. I do find that interesting compared to what the synopsis was saying, which further makes me think that the data has not come in on their side yet, or the update isn't complete on their end. But based off what I'm seeing on the run here, definitely thinking we could see maybe a later afternoon setup. Still kind of hard to tell, but like I said, plenty of congruency between the models. And then here's the, you can actually see the you can actually see a little bit of low level spin here as well, which I find interesting, beginning to develop. You can kind of see just a little bit of that spin here as that warm and cold air meet up, and this cold air starts to push in and begin to dominate. So like I said, looks like a lot of convection seems possible here, but it's, like I said, it's really in this little warm pocket right here where the threat for severe weather is still going to remain the highest here. Could see some winter weather on the other side of this. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow's video. So now we're going to get into the last part of the thermals here. It's good to be in range of this now too, so it's really nice. We're going to go ahead and just zoom in on Texas really at this point. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the instability, the Cape here. So this is getting early into the day here. By the time we're already in the morning hours, we're already reaching 1600 joules per kilogram. And that is an eye-opener. And the thing is, we've been trending a little bit later towards in the day for maybe a more suitable severe setup, which is something that's definitely catching my attention. If this does play out, we will be probably able to stream this. And interestingly enough, we're with this latest update, we're seeing a mixed layer here getting close to 3000 joules per kilograms, with surface Cape going over 3000. That's an explosive environment too. So that's definitely an eye-opener. Some really good storm relative helicity values, some strong energy helicity values, D-Cape. This is checking all the boxes here. This could be a big storm. This could be a big day here if everything comes together as it's anticipated to right now. So definitely something to keep an extra close eye on. Even the significant hail parameters up pretty high, 1.7. Usually 1.0 is about the threshold number, so to speak, here. So something else to keep an eye on as well. Maybe even the threat of strong tornadoes could exist with this one too. So expect a lot of activity on Thursday from chasers as well if you live in this area towards East Texas here. We'll check out OOZ and still have a tour sounding here as well. So we continue to go forward here. We'll actually switch over to the NAM here to kind of get a better look. So we'll just speed this along here. NAM's not as generous with the instability here, which I find interesting. But where it is a little bit more generous, we're looking at about 2000 joules per kilogram. And a very impressive looking hodograph here. Usually when you start to see these hodographs begin to shoot in a vertical motion like this from the 0 to 1 graph, which is this little area right here, where you see the little number 0 on the x-axis right here. Well, I cannot believe I couldn't say that. On the x-axis right here, going straight vertical almost. That's usually a troubling sign. So like I said, this is definitely something I'm going to be watching with extreme interest over the next day leading up to the event. And like I said, depending on the timing, I might be able to go live and stream this. It all depends on work, which hopefully won't be too bad. But this is definitely something to pay close attention over here if you're over towards southeastern and parts of maybe even eastern Texas. So last thing we're going to do here is take a look at the radar and the updraft helicity. Like I said, this part I wouldn't read too much into, simply because we're still so far away from the time that these storms will get going. However, this is this could also be a first look at what it could look like here. Start out with HRRR. So this is early in the morning here, getting later into the day. Looks like right around back half of the morning is when we start to see some convection begin to get going here. We start to see it really pick up around lunchtime. So we're still seeing pretty good consistency from what the SPC was talking about earlier, although I do think this could be a longer lasting event here, possibly, especially towards the Texas coast, which doesn't surprise me. Could even be the area of interest as far as an enhanced risk is concerned too. But I really think that time frame is going to start out just around, I would say, 17 to maybe 21Z here. A couple of things that capture my attention here in particular are the shape of storms like these two over here, where you can see almost that little kidney bean structure. Kind of is almost even matching what you were seeing with the photographs here. Those are likely to be supercells, and if they have that look, there could be an increasing chance of a tornado threat if this comes to fruition. Let's make our comparison with the NAM here, NAM 3 kilometer here. We're seeing a pretty similar look, a little bit more in the way of convection earlier in the morning, and I think that could actually hamper some storm development here. Like I said, this is one of the many fail parameters that you can run into when it comes to severe weather threats here. The NAM really is the NAM is very aggressive with this convection here, and with that and potential for increased cloud cover too, could also help keep things limited here. We do get a line of storms that eventually forms later in the evening, but this will help kind of nullify that tornado threat and really a severe weather threat overall. Although I do think damaging wind potential would increase with this as well though. So like I said, still a lot of uncertainty. A lot will be made more clear tomorrow, but there's still a chance that some uncertainty will remain. So like I said, just make sure you're staying tuned to this channel and others, of course. Make sure you're smashing that like button, decimating that subscribe button, and obliterating that share button. This is all I got for you guys tonight. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying tuned and staying patient, more importantly. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Till then, take care. Have a good night. Horns up. It's been Ty, Metalhead Weatherman. See you soon.